Hello and welcome back everybody. So today I'm making a video that's been long awaited. I'm going to be showing you how to make this homemade squiddy I made. And yeah, we're just going to get on into the build. This is basically, like, it's not an exact replica of a squiddy, but it has the same principle of using like PVC and plastic. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy the video. I actually have the finished product with me. This is the one I made it a little different. Definitely put your own little twist on it. But yeah, actually flips really well. And we're gonna be making this. Okay, so I totally forgot my bipod, but I should still be able to hold the camera well. So we're gonna start off with this piece of PVC pipe. Usually it's good to be, I think that's like an inch. I don't know. You want a bigger diameter PVC pipe just because it's a lot thicker than well, I actually don't have any on me, but thinner PVC pipe usually is thinner, but also it gives you more sheets when it's wider. But if you don't have something this big, if you have one of these gray, or if it's a different color piece of PVC pipe, I think it's a different durability, I guess. These are usually just as thick, but you don't get as many sheets out of it, so I usually don't use this stuff. So this is actually a scrap piece of PVC, like that cut was made for a airsoft gun or whatever I was making. So you can see that you don't really need anything special. You just want it the length of the handle you want. This is actually shorter than my preferred handle length. So I'm gonna make this, but I'm gonna use these parts when I put it together to show you what to do. But this is just to show you how to make the actual shape of the handle. And again, I only have one hand right now, so it might be a little shaky. We're going to start off by cutting it straight down the middle so it can open up when we heat it. And the reason why I have it in the vise this way is I used to do it with it like pinned in between the vise like that. Just forget that's it, like that. But when I'd cut down the middle, the vise would squish it closed basically, and your saw kind of gets stuck. So if you have a vise big enough, put it in that way. And if you don't have a vise, you should be able to figure something out.
But a vise definitely helps, so you just want to cut it down the middle. There you go.
Okay, I have this balanced really weird, but now I do like to get this really flat, and it's easier if your hands aren't burning. So I'd recommend putting on a thin pair of gloves. They don't have to be thick. It's just because the PVC pipe heats up quite a bit. So now you're gonna want to see that crack, make sure it goes all the way through, kind of open it up a little bit just to make sure. And I had half of this cut already from a different project, but you just cut all the way down. And now you want to get your heat gun, heat this all up, and then once it starts to get rubbery, you'll feel it kind of push, and you'll see in the video. And you want to heat it up all the way around so it opens up. You're gonna flatten it with your hands, and then I have this board right here to flatten it. So if you don't have a heat gun, you can definitely use a hair dryer. It might just take a little longer, or an open flame. You just don't want to like melt or burn the PVC. So here we go. We got the sheet. Doesn't matter if it's not perfectly flat, but you do want it as flat as it can be. And really quick, this is what my channel construction started to look like. This was just kind of a prototype for channel construction, but in the future it should be better if you guys want to stay tuned for that video. But yeah, now what I do is just find a thickness I like and pull down and make a straight line. But for you guys who want to know, these are actually almost exactly ½ an inch. And if you put both of them together, they're about an inch wide. So yeah, but I'm just gonna make this whatever size I'm able. Okay, so I basically just do that and then just pull down, and then I have my line. And you can make it straighter if you want, but now basically I'm just gonna cut it with the saw. Now I'm gonna put this in the vise and just file the edges so they don't look as wonky, especially this side that's not even cut because it's like sharp. So I'm gonna file these down. Okay, so now I have the edges straightened out. I'm going to take these little burrs off. But now we're going to move on to the shaping part, I guess. So for the shaping part, I actually don't use a file, just because I usually curve it with my hand. But that's just me. You can use whatever. Okay, so now I have the shape I want, and now I'm gonna just rub the edges on the side and just kind of all around just to get it smooth. So now basically it's just kind of wherever you want. So at the top I have a drill bit. I'm not gonna say what size, well, I'm not sure what size it is, I just pulled it out. But basically just make it the size of your screw, I guess, or whatever, like nut, whatever you're using, bolt. So like let's say this is my screw. You'd want to make sure that you can't see the screw behind the drill bit. Obviously this drill bit's smaller than it, but I have a bigger one I'm using for the bottom. And if you're using two different screws, then you have two different size screws. Like basically just make your drill bits the size a little bit bigger than your screws so they slide in easily. And yeah, I'm using two different ones just to show the different sides of the knife a little easier. But yeah, so basically I get up close to the edge but not too far to the top, just so there's enough strength while you're flipping, and then I just drill. Okay, so I have the holes drilled in my handle, and you basically just do that for every single handle, no difference. You can also polish this down with like heavier grit sandpaper, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. So now I cut out my blade, just a piece off. It's basically an inch exactly. If your handles aren't half an inch, or if they're smaller or bigger, your blade might vary. But if you see here, those two are about an inch, so they line up really well. And you might want to make it wider, because at the bottom of blades, like this part right there, sometimes there's little pieces that come out, that stick out on the blade. And like that's part of the tang or whatever, but I really like the slim design of not having those stick out, and I like having it really just discreet, I guess. So I don't usually add those, so I make my blade a constant shape all the way down, and I'll show you more of that on a different knife. But now basically just trace the edge of your blade, doesn't really matter what shape, and then you just want to round off the corners. You can basically sand that, you don't really need to cut it. I just rounded the tang part, and usually it rounds a lot. Again, I'll show you on an actual knife, but I actually kind of like this type of look, and I'm just going to experiment. And also, I said I was just going to make the blade in the one handle piece and then put together this other one to show you, but I actually think I'm going to use this blade on that handle, and that might be a little better for you guys to see how it works when you make everything at the same time, just because this handle is weird. I mean, this blade is weird. So yeah, so I have that curved, and then now I'm going to sand this part to curve the blade.
I'll cut it to make it quicker. So basically, just cut. You don't even have to curve it with the shape. You just want to cut a chunk off so it's easier to sand. There we go. And now that's just going to be way easier to sand.
Move it up maybe half an inch, not half an inch, like a quarter of an inch. And then you're going to just line it up straight as you can, as best you can on the knife, and then mark those holes with like a Sharpie or a punch, and then drill holes through that. And the reason why you want it to go up is, ideally, if I had like my perfect knife that I wanted to flip, I'd have it super low profile. Like I wouldn't have the tang stick out at all, and I'd have it look like that, which I think would look sweet. But even with Zen pins and tang pins, this doesn't work, because when it opens up, the pin has to hit the handle to straighten the blade out. And if your handles are super low, that pin doesn't have enough leverage to keep it straight, and it'll just be all wonky. Again, I might show you on a different knife, but you definitely need it up a little more. One really quick thing, so I already drilled this hole, but if you have them lined up together, you also want to drill the holes with them in the open position, because as you can see, the top of that is a little, well, there's length right there, and that might be different on each handle. So when it opens, these actually might hit like that if the holes are too close. So you want it in the open position to assure that those handles won't hit in between. Okay, so Oh, I don't know. Okay, so now this is gonna be, instead of, I used nails last time for tank pins, but I think it'll look cooler, so I'm gonna use, or I think something else is gonna look cooler. I'm gonna use the black screws I use as pivot, or like, whatever, the pins or whatever. I'm gonna use those as tank pins actually too. I think it'll look kind of cool, and then I don't have to cut the nails down super small, and they'll screw in way easier. So I'm just gonna drill a hole in the middle as close as I can to the edge there, and probably about the same there. Okay, so now I have the holes drilled there, and now I have my handles paired to the best shape, or to the best matches that they have, like that. And if you can see, the hole is closer to that side, and then on this one it's closer to the inside. You'll want to do that to keep them like that, or if you want them on the outside more, you just flip them like this, but don't turn them over because then it'll be lopsided. I might be able to show you better in a bit, but now I'm going to put my pins through, and I have little washers, so I'm just going to put that together.
Okay, so I have the first screw on, now I have the second one with a washer. There we go, and then you just put it in. The next washer, just for people that might need some clarification. And then you put the next one on. Alright, then you put on the bolt, but I want the heads of the screws to show, and that looks mismatchy, so I'm going to flip those. Be right back.
Okay, so now I have the screws on. So the tank pins are a little wide, not because they're not touching the head of the screw or anything, they're just a little wide. But that's not bad because I'm just going to sand down the little corners, which I said I wouldn't do, but these are a little wider, but I kind of like the robustness of them, I guess. So I'm just going to use a little file and file down where they make contact on each side in the open and closed position. And also, I'm going to add bolts in the back, and I might add a screw in the back, and I might add like a nut or something as a spacer and a weight, I guess. Okay, so as you can see, it can close now. I think it looks pretty nice. The blade's a little long for me, or not long, it just, I don't know if I really like the look. I might round it off a little more, but I am very pleased with how it turned out. And yeah, so the way I got the holes to line up fairly well is I basically took the screws out, closed the handles as much as I wanted them to be, I want to where I wanted them to settle, and then I just drilled through the plastic through the hole, and that basically made the half circles on each side, and it turned out pretty well. So yeah, I mean, I kind of like this look with all the screws. It kind of looks like the new iPhones and stuff with all the cameras. But yeah, this is actually really well balanced, and I hope your guys' turned out well. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments, because I definitely didn't go over like everything. But yeah, just ask them down below, and I might be able to make a video answering them, or I can just respond to the comment. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, or not, the choice is yours.